punctuation, tags, and other things dialogue. I'm Karen Berry with Right Now Editing, where we turn good manuscripts into great books.
And I'm Peg Thomas, multi-award winning author and editor, and we are two editors for 5 minutes.
Get that timer
Two
started.
editors and two dogs.
And I have three today, so we're just a whole canine conundrum around here. Um, so we had some questions a while ago about punctuation in dialogue, which we could do that in a few seconds. So Peg and I thought we'd just kind of chat a little bit. We've talked about dialogue before, but we're going to talk a little more about the technical side of it, not the writing, creating your character voice, but more of just the nitty-gritty.
How to present it.
Yes. So the very basic starts with the difference between a dialogue tag and an action beat. Dialogue tag is when you're going to write dialogue and you're going to end it with he said, she said, he asked. Anything that says asked, said, whispered, that's a tag. The action beat is when, in order to attribute the dialogue to a character, instead of saying said, you're going to show what the character is doing. And then on the same line or in the same paragraph, you're going to have the dialogue. That shows the reader whoever is doing the action is also speaking. So then you don't need to say he said because you've already shown that the action and dialogue fit together.
Yes. And we're going to punctuate those differently
Mhm.
for the most part. Okay. So if we're using he said, she said, right? You have your quotation marks, what was said. You have a comma in front of the last quotation mark, and then she said. If you're breaking up something with an action beat, so you've got dialogue in your quotation marks, and you're going to have an action beat. If that is breaking up the dialogue, okay, so um, you've got talking, and then the person grabs something, and then they talk again, right? So this is just like a little pause in the what's happening. You're going to set that aside with an M dash. So you're going to have quotation mark, the closing quotation mark, an M dash, your action beat, another M dash, and the next quotation mark. There's going to be no spaces between quotation mark, dialogue, or M dash, right? The M dash has no space on either side of it. So you've got somebody talking to another person. While they're talking, they reach for a cup of coffee and they continue on talking. You've got that separated by these M dashes. That's telling the reader this is happening during the dialogue, right? So that's an important way to set that apart. Um, you can also do it with commas if there's, how do I put this? If it's not an action that's taking place during the dialogue, but say you've got dialogue, you got a comma, your close quotation, and then you're putting in something that the character is thinking. Okay, you're not going to set that apart with M dashes. It's just going to be a comma. You're going to share the person's thought, and then they're going to pick up with what they were saying. But if there's an action beat, if they're actually doing something, using those M dashes is a great way to clue the reader into an action beat that's important to what's going on at the moment.
And if
So,
you're going to put your action beat before or after the dialogue, you just use periods or whatever punctuation works. If
right,
if the character asks a question, you're going to use the question mark, end quote, and then write the action beat. If they're just separate sentences, is what they are.
right.
Um, so I'm watching this time. I didn't think we could talk about dialogue for 5 minutes, but we're already down for 4 minutes gone. Um, this is
Dialogue is fun. Dialogue is fun. And it's
it is.
and remember when you're doing dialogue that you don't want long paragraphs of dialogue. People don't talk that way. People don't talk in soliloquies, okay? They talk in short sentences or short bursts. Well, some women wax longer than other. Men should definitely be in short bursts of conversation, right? So remember, if you're doing male or female, that does make a difference. Men typically talk shorter, punchier sentences. Women maybe a little longer, a little flowery speech. But long paragraphs of dialogue don't work. So you do need to break those up with action beats or dialogue switching between characters as it does in real life. One person doesn't sit and do all the talking while the other person nods, right? So,
Except for when Peg's talking about dialogue, and I just sit
well,
here
this
and
is
nod.
true because yeah, I get kind of passionate about the whole
Well, and before we
this
head
part of
out,
it.
the one thing that I see a lot of, especially with my clients, um, you do not need action beats or dialogue tags on every line of dialogue, especially if there are only two people in the scene. Um,
Right,
the action beats really need to add something to the scene. So if you have two people eating dinner, we do not need to see every time they take a bite of something, every time they take a drink of something. Let it out. I leave those out. Just let the dialogue flow, let the scene flow. Use the tags and the beats to avoid confusion, but they
right,
need to move the story forward. And that's
right,
all the time we
and
have.
also to
So
set
final
and
thoughts.
also to set the tempo
Yes.
because the faster the dialogue is, the fewer tags and beats you're going to use. If you're in a high tense situation, you don't want it cluttered up with all those tags and beats. Um, if you're in a more relaxed situation, you use more of them.
And that's all we've got today in our six or
That's
7 minutes. So come back next week. We've got a couple of good topics coming up. Until then, I am Karen Beery.
And I'm Peggy Thomas, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.